Welcome to the legislative update for March 2nd. This is the third week of the session, so we're about to wrap up. The 2nd of March is the deadline for bills to be out of the committee for which they've been assigned to and the crossover. And so the committees have been working pretty hard this week to get a lot of those bills through the process of being heard or having testimony on those bills. One of the bills that has fallen off the board this week is House Bill 78, which would look at executive orders and try and establish a legislatively directed process for how they're handled. The bill failed this week, and it'll probably be considered again. It's been in the legislature for this year as well as last year. House Bill 7, the Voluntary Livestock Identification Program, was heard in the Senate Ag Committee Thursday night, and that bill passed out of the committee on a 4-1 vote. However, I think there's going to be quite a bit of discussion on the floor of the Senate, perhaps even today, and this bill may have a little bit of trouble getting through the process. Another bill that we have been following and we've talked about a lot is Senate File 41, which is the Wolf Management Bill. And again, this bill seems to be moving along. It was in the Senate Travel Committee or House Travel Committee earlier this week. And there was a little bit of explanation on the bill and no testimony taken from the public or no one from the public that wanted to testify. Again, this bill has quite a bit of support, so it seems to be moving through the process without any real big issues. House Joint Resolution 10 is a resolution that we haven't mentioned before, but it is just complementing or encouraging the Federal Communications Commission to look into some of the telecommunications problems that we've been experiencing in the rural areas. Apparently, some of the low-cost providers have not been delivering these calls that start out in a rural area and terminate in a rural area, and they just get into a loop or they don't get delivered to the right individual. And the FCC's looking into this, and our legislative body wants to compliment them on that and encourage them to go forward. The last bill that I want to talk about is Senate File 85, which is the general permit bill. Again, we've talked a lot about the importance of that bill to agriculture, especially as it relates to the pesticide application. That bill passed the House Committee of the Whole this week and seems to be moving. There still is some controversy on that, and an amendment added yesterday has kind of had people wondering what exactly the bill looks like now. I'm sure they'll get that straightened out in the next couple of days. Brett, I'll let you take a couple of the bills that you've been following this week.
Thanks, Ken. The first bill I'd like to talk about is a bill that failed. It was Senate File 64 that dealt with criminal trespass. This bill would have removed the requirement that land be posted, and it would have put the burden on the person to know where they were, if they were on public or private land, and it would have taken some burden off of the landowners. Our policy supports stronger trespass laws. Even though this bill failed, it's brought an issue forward, and the sponsor has been strongly encouraged to bring it next year, so we'll see if it comes up again. Senate File 42 deals with the Wildlife Trust Fund projects that are over $200,000. Those projects have to go to the legislature. We have a lot of concern that over $6 million was being spent on conservation easements that had no requirements concerning habitat improvement. It has generated a lot of discussion outside of the legislature and inside of the legislature. Should we be spending this much money on conservation easements, on the perpetual conservation easements? In the committee, there was 7 affirmative votes and 2 negative votes, so there is some people out there that are sharing our concerns. House Bill 34 deals with subdivisions. When this bill was in the House, they had a requirement that developers would have to reserve land for public schools. We had strong concerns about the taking of private property rights. As the bill worked its way over to the Senate, that provision has been removed, and it essentially is just a bill that school districts need to do more planning when they are looking at getting more additional schools. A bill that was in the House Ag Committee yesterday is Senate File 65, Applied Research Funding. This bill would give $200,000 to the Wyoming Department of Agriculture to do applied research. It's felt the university cannot satisfy the demand for these type of smaller projects. We have concern that this is just establishing another program and keep kind of letting the University of Wyoming off the hook to satisfy its cooperative extension land grant college role. House Bill 8, or excuse me, Senate File 8 deals with the ethanol tax credit. When it came out of the Senate, it essentially eliminated the ethanol tax credit. We had concerns that this was essentially a promise broken to this industry. As it worked its way through the House, an 18-cent a gallon tax credit was restored, and this program will go out of existence in 2018. So it's kind of a compromise between the ethanol industry and the legislature. Next week is the last week of the legislature, so they will be discussing interim topics. We will have a report next week on items that the legislature will be examining over the summer and bills that will probably be coming into the 2013 session. With that, we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.